He went through every school that you could. He was stellar in Panama, just a real good soldier, half Vietnamese, half Irish. Later became a San Francisco police officer and was tragically killed about 8 years ago. Here's a famous picture of all of us. After the first 3 days of fighting, everything was settled down. We went to the beachhead in Rio Hato, and on the beachhead, Noriega had 3 mansions. His was in the center, and he had each of his daughters had one on either side, and they were beautiful. I mean, these were palatial estates right on the beach, and everyone was gone. And I think the worst thing you do is let a bunch of 20-something hoodlums loose in mansions with no supervision. Nobody there to. So we ransacked them pretty well. This came out of his. It's a portrait of him. I actually took the portrait of his best-looking daughter, and I had that hanging in my barracks until someone took it from me. Just a note on that. Later, I mean, these were really decked out, and he had just been there. And Noriega had a kind of a passion of collecting jade, different types of jewelry. And being the first one in one of his houses, I emptied out a rucksack of all my gear and loaded up with about 100 pounds of jade and stuff. And I had it with me until the D-Day, when we were ready to ship out. Customs took it away from me. But this is in his. This is in the courtyard of one of the mansions. He also had a fighting gamecock school there. He had dozens and dozens of roosters, fighting roosters. So in our platoon, we had 2 guys from Hawaii who actually, that was part of their family business. So they knew what to do. They turned all of those roosters loose on each other, and it took about a day for all of them to do each other in, and then they plucked them and grilled them, and we had like the best chicken dinner I've ever had in my life, courtesy of Mr. Noriega. And we swam in his built-in pools, and a bunch of the guys took his clothes, and it was like 2 days of R&R before we had to get back into it. Okay. This is a real famous. This picture's everywhere. Anytime you see anything about the Panama, especially Rio Hato, this picture comes up, and this is our platoon with our weapons section that was attached to it. And this was, again, at his beachfront home. We had our flag. This was their flag from
Point to yourself, Sam.
Their special forces. There I am. Yeah, it's a great group of guys. I mean, this is almost. It just brings back a lot of memories. This picture. Okay. There's me. I get my stripes. This is in front of our barracks. We had beautiful barracks. They treated us like rock stars at Fort Lewis. Our compound was guarded all the time. Our rooms were beautiful. We had 4-man rooms with sometimes only 1 guy living in it. We all had cable TV. Now, this is the 80s too. Late 80s, early 90s. We all had cable TV. Our chow hall, we had steak and shrimp every Friday. Every day you could eat steak. The best gear beautiful, it was just a beautiful, beautiful compound. They knocked it all down about 10 years ago, and now it's even more spectacular. It looks like 5-star hotels there. Okay. Textbook victory in Rio Hato. This was an article that I kept. After Rio Hato was secure and we were getting ready to come home, I have to put this in because I'll forget it otherwise. We got shuttled to the Army base in Panama, where they gave us as much money as we wanted, new uniforms and showers, and a day off. And again, our Lieutenant Colonel Kernan gave us such a great speech going into it, came and gave us the after-action speech, and during which time he says, he said, I can go ahead and tell you guys now, because I surely wouldn't have dared say this, but going into the mission in Rio Hato, it was an acceptable risk to come out of there with only 50%. Because we knew we were jumping into the special forces. We knew they were probably going to be waiting for us, and we did not expect to get out of there with only, I think we lost a total of 17 total between all the different, between us, the Marines, the SEALs. So he said this was just a textbook victory. And again, when you plan something for that many years, you know, it should be, I guess, but we were grateful, and we looked at each other, you know, after that speech, and we're like, wow, we really were lucky. I mean, I knew there were a lot of guys who got hurt real bad. My best friend in battalion hit a sniper tower coming down, full speed, shattered his leg. He was laying there immobile, and they were getting ready to pick him off when one of my other good buddies blew the tower with an AT-4 just in the nick of time. Got him out of there. Next time I saw him was back at Fort Lewis after the fact. But it was a harrowing, it was a tough hour in whatever, but we definitely always remember that. Me and some of the guys, this was in Savannah, actually, I think, in that 3 weeks where we were training. This kid here at this time, in this picture, was an E2. He, Mike O'Connor, he later became a colonel. He got somebody to sign off and send him to OCS, which floored us all. This guy here, Modulewski and John Smith, both excellent Delta operatives later in their career. This is, we're back at the base after Rio Hato. This was awards day where they gave us our combat infantry badges, our Bronze Star on them, and our arrowhead. One thing I will say, coming home, we were waiting to come home because we knew our mission there was over. We were waiting to come home for about 3-4 days, and there were no planes. There were no military planes to get us home. So they flew in an American airline, big 757, to take us home. And I remember we had an ex-Marine in our platoon, who was an older guy like me, who said, you know what, watch, when that plane door opens, only thing you're gonna smell for the rest of your life is gonna be the perfume on an airplane. And when they open them doors, that's it's a distinct, after being in the jungle for 3 weeks, it's the most distinct smell in the world. ST lauder. So we get on the planes, and they had like 10 stewardesses on there, and the captain comes on, and he says, "Okay, guys, get relaxed. You cannot out-eat the food we have, and you cannot out-drink the booze we have. So enjoy yourselves. Thank you from American Airlines." So we sit there, and we're eating, having some drinks, watching movies. Watch the movie, take our nap. We landed Fort Lewis, and again, you know, there's the little things in your life that always stick with you. And the landing in Fort Lewis was one of them. We land, and it's like 10:30 at night, and I'm thinking, okay, we're going to board the buses when we go back to the base. We get off this plane and walk down these stairs, and there's like 5,000 people in this airfield, screaming like we were, you know, just won the Super Bowl. And the press was there. They had the bass band there, and they were playing the theme from Rocky. And we come down there, and everybody who's out there, and people are shaking your hand and hugging you and kissing. It was amazing. We get on the buses, we get back to the barracks. All the girlfriends and wives and family of the local guys, they had been working, I guess, all day. They had set up these elaborate buffets, and they had kegs of beer, and we just had a great time. It was so good because, you know, I think in a lot of the guys' minds, you heard the horror stories of the poor guys coming back from Vietnam who were not respected and not treated well, and nobody kind of knew how we were going to be received, and they answered everything. I mean, there was still a good part of the country that really was grateful for what we had done, I guess. Yeah, to get promoted to sergeant, you got to go to PLDC and learn how to be a leader. There's the brochures for that. So I get out of well, let me back up just a hair. I now want to go on and continue with my military career. Just before the Panama invasion, I had gone down the first group. They had given me the approval to go to the selection course in the member of Special Forces Green Beret. And I was going to head down to Fort Sam for 2 years to get my medical training, and then out to Monterey. And in Panama, at some point there, I took the physical like a few days before we left. So as soon as we get back, I said, okay, I'm ready. And they said, well, you got to redo the physical. Well, the physical finds I have now a massive hernia, and I know how I got it. It was from lugging all that gear on them jumps. So I am in rehab for 6 months. It was a real nasty surgery, not the normal hernia. And while I'm there, my buddy, whose ankle had shattered, Frank, he's recouping with me, and he goes, maybe this ain't for us. I just got a brochure that says there, Seattle police, you could make $100,000 a year. Maybe we ought to go there. I don't know. I don't want to do it. He goes, come on, let's at least go down there and see what it's about. So we go down there, and every bad story in my life, and probably most of your life, when you think, what's the catalyst behind every bad story in your life? And in mine, it is, the first line is, I was drunk. So we go downtown to Seattle and we're drinking heavily. Ronnie? He's my partner in crime. Most of the bad stuff that's happened to me happened to him, and he knows it. So we go down there and we tie one on and we go to Seattle and we sign up to take this test. And I go and take the test, and I hate to say it, but I think God was just not on my side that day, because I scored number 2 out of that 3,500, and I was one of the first guy they picked up. And looking back, it was I wish I would have stayed in the Army. And the guys who were in, we talked about it earlier, the camaraderie that you have with guys when you're in the service. I don't care what you did, what unit you were in, and I don't care if you were a cook or a librarian or if you were the baddest SEAL, the camaraderie with those people in your life is something you never, ever forget. And I made a bad mistake of trying to hold the people in this organization up to that standard, which let me down every time. I did 27 years with them. It's like serving a sentence, believe me. I was an undercover detective for 20 of it. Did a lot of great work. We worked on what they call human trafficking before it was called that. We were doing it. We were tracking these guys. We were tracking pedophiles. We arrested hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them. And I got out of there. After 27 years, that's me going in. That's what happens after, that's what it looks like coming out. So I retire, and my now wife says, because the dream was always, let's go hang out in Arizona. And she said one thing that again, she says, wouldn't it be nice to go home? We go home all the time. Let's go home and hang out with the family there and stuff, even if it's just for a year or two, and then we'll decide. So I sent her home, and she found us a home out in Lockport, where I'm at now. And again, it was the best decision of my life. Meeting her and then coming back home. Not many people retire and come back to Chicago, but it's been great. This is a picture of one of my very, very best friends, Sergeant Gendro, who's with me in Panama. This is Staff Sergeant Petrie. He's 2nd Ranger Battalion. He won the Congressional Medal of Honor. He's the last one. We used to do fake drills. We called it the CMH drill. What had happened, what they do is they throw a fake grenade down, just, and they go CMH drill, and someone had to jump on that grenade and take it. It was just a drill when you were standing around with guys. He did it in real life. Picked it up and saved his whole platoon, but lost his hand and part of his arm. So he's the real CMH drill, and he's a great guy. He was at the dedication of the 2nd Ranger Battalion War Memorial in Fort Lewis, which was about 8 years ago or so. And he was there, and we all took pictures with him. And Jeff is one of my favorite guys ever that I met in the Army, so that's the one I chose to put up there with him. And here's that same day. This is the fella that hit the sniper tower and shattered his ankle. Frank Wilczynski, me. Steve Saunders, he was new. I was old, he was new. This is him. He's getting old too now. He's at this point he's sergeant major in 1st Group, and good old Jeff. I think that's about it. That's what replaced our rock in front of our barracks. We had a giant rock. Whenever you ticked off a ranking sergeant or somebody, they just say hit the rock. And you went and you elevated your feet on that rock and did push-ups until they deemed that you could serve your penance. That took the place of the rock. I think that's it. That's it. I want to thank every one of you who came out. Not too often I even sit and think about a lot of this stuff. Walk down memory lane. I mean, every one of us has a story to tell. Every single person that walks this earth has a story to tell. And I'm very grateful that you just came and shared a couple years of mine with me. Thank you so much.
Sammy, you were going to talk about one of the hardest missions that you guys ever did that would lead to the hill. The hill?
Oh,
Here.
oh,
yeah.
okay. Ronnie Biscuit, stand up. Come up
There you
here.
go.
Come up here. Come up here. When I lived in Melrose Park, this was my best friend in the whole wide world, Ron Biscuit. Me and him and the guys in the neighborhood had come here to the seminary.
Yes.
And we'd sneak.
Now I remember.
We'd sneak in.
Not at all.
We'd sneak through the window and play basketball in the court.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, someone would get caught. What do you say? What happened to them? They used to have to go up that hill out here.
Yes, we had to kneel on every step.
Every step and pray. So if you got caught,
We didn't want to be that one.
you didn't want to be that guy. Because if you were that guy, then the other guys had to run home and tell your mom, Vince ain't gonna be home for about 2-3 hours because the brother's got him over at the seminary. And he's praying.
That's why you ended up being such a great ranger. You had plenty of training gear.
Plenty of training on evade and escape. I never got caught. And this was the best wheelman in town. Between me running away and him driving us away.
I remember one time looking through the police window at you guys.
Yeah, we got caught a few times.
It was minor.
Yeah.
Now, you had mentioned that you guys tended to take some souvenirs, and before you were allowed to come back to the States, they literally brought in a team of custom agents from the States that put you guys through a shakedown inspection and took everything away. But you did manage to bring back a couple of things.
Oh,
And I'd like you to show them and explain what they
I
are.
forgot, Steve, you get up here, you start rambling and stuff. This was a